We need to be able to teach our children at age-appropriate levels to understand issues around sex, gender, sexuality, understand their own power, understand gender equality issues and so on, as a way to prevent young people from growing up to being violent adults.
This is also proved to be a deterrent for child abuse, because the more that a child is appropriately aware of the indecent, inappropriate touching and so on, the more that child is able to articulate and first if any such thing is happening. So, it's really very important.
SASAD's Joel Simpson and Vanda Radzik of Red Shred as they called for an overhaul of the sexual education for students. Radzik feels that faith-based organization can do more.
They have to come to grips with not having their faith and their godliness and whatever affect what is the human condition that they are also supposed to be healing.
She said she grew up a Catholic and asked this rhetorical question as a means of seeking tolerance for the other person.
That my Christ, my Jesus Christ, who did he fraternize with? The vulnerable, the poor, and the powerless. He had not one friend in the Pharisees and the Sadducees, who were the faith-based official people of the day.
Even from experience within the community, they will tell you, well, I know people who are leaders in their own right, even within the faith community, who either associate with or may even be homosexual.
Ayana McCalmont, they were responding to questions and suggestions from representatives of several organizations at a lunchtime talk that SASAD, in partnership with the Advancing Partners and Communities Guyana project, organized for the 16 days of activism that leads to International Human Rights Day. That's December 10th. One organization said that Help and Shelter, a local non-governmental organization, provides shelter for vulnerable women and children, but what is in place for transgenders and homosexuals? McCallum feel that a return to community effort could be key.
For me, the real action that we have to take is actually partnering with the communities to say, how can we create a safe place within a reasonable area for persons who need to access service.
In places like the interior, where I do a lot of work, if you're lucky, you have court every 3 months, right? And there's there are no lawyers around. And so indigenous people who've traveled 2 days to come to the one place in the, like, let us say LFM, and then there's nobody there to advise them. They have language barrier to begin with. It is, the court and the lawyers are trying to do a good thing, but in the end it ends up being kangaroo courts when you do not have the services available right there and then, and that's every 3 months. So if you have something down the line called gender-based budgeting, it exists in Belize, in places near to us, especially in some of the developed countries. Gender-based budgeting will take care of this. So you don't have to depend on somebody offering their home and then you have somebody who don't know how to deal with abused people.
We do need a shelter in Guyana for LGBT people. Absolutely. And not just for intimate partner violence, domestic violence. We're also seeing issues with LGBT youth around homelessness. Yes. When a young person comes out at 13 and they start to face physical abuse from parents and guardians, where do they go?
Simpson said that there is no room in state institutions or foster care available. He said that such children are driven to the streets and become sex workers in order to survive. They are also concerned with the level of counseling available to persons seeking such help, as some people feel that the sessions could be deemed superficial.
You might have a social worker who is not a counselor. A social worker does case work. Who might have been through some counseling workshops and have some experience from working on a particular issue for some time. But that person isn't educated and trained in the therapy and the science of counseling. So that is a very, very real challenge, not only for issues related to intimate partner violence, but for issues related to suicide as well.
Yeah. Simpson feels that government-driven scholarship programs could result in more trained counselors. Reporting for Prime News, Julia Johnson.